They thought she was invisible, until the moment she stepped onto that stage and revealed a voice that could lift an entire room to tears. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more heartfelt real-life stories that inspire us across the USA. In every big city of the United States, there are streets people walk past without truly seeing. People rush to their jobs, their errands, their plans, their futures, rarely noticing the quiet souls who drift between the crowd. Among those souls was a woman named Mira, a soft-spoken spirit with eyes full of stories the world had never heard. Mira lived most days seeking small places of warmth, moments of kindness, or simply a quiet corner to rest with her newborn son, Elias. Life had been unpredictable, but she never let hardship harden her. She believed that every day carried a possibility, maybe a small one, maybe faint, but still a possibility. And deep inside her, she carried a gift, a voice, not just any voice, a voice with the power to comfort, uplift, and reach places words alone could not reach. But no one knew, not until the day the universe decided to open a completely unexpected door. The poster that changed everything. It happened in the early morning as Mira walked along a busy street, her baby tucked securely against her chest. Bright posters lined the sidewalk, announcing a nationwide talent show tour making a stop in her city. Bold letters read, "The nation's next voice, open auditions today." People hurried past the posters. Some stopped to take selfies. Some joked about auditioning, but for Mira, it felt like the sign had been placed there for her alone. She paused, she looked at her son's sleeping face. She felt something stir inside her, a whisper of courage, a reminder of the dreams she once carried before life took its twists and turns. Maybe, she murmured softly to Elias, just maybe today could be different. It wasn't confidence, it wasn't certainty, it was hope, gentle, quiet, but steady. So she turned, following the crowd toward the audition hall. The long line of talent. The line was massive, stretching around the block, filled with people dressed in polished outfits, sparkling costumes, and perfectly styled hair. Mira's clothing was simple and worn, but she stood tall, rocking her child gently. Some people glanced at her curiously. A few smiled warmly, most simply looked away, not knowing the story unfolding beside them. As the line moved slowly, Mira looked up at the building towering over her. Inside those doors were judges who had seen thousands of performances. Some good, some unforgettable, some quickly dismissed. She wasn't thinking about fame. She didn't dream of lights or stages or cameras. She only wanted one thing. A chance to show her son that even when the world overlooks you, your voice still matters. A chance to prove to herself that her gift had meaning. A chance to step out of the shadows for just one moment. When she reached the front of the line, an assistant glanced at her gently and said, "You can bring your baby inside. We'll help however you need." Mira nodded gratefully. The room of dreams. Inside the audition hall, dozens of contestants rehearsed nervously. Some stretched, some warmed up their voices. Some showed off tricks, instruments, or dance steps. Bright lights, echoing voices, and excitement filled the air. Mira sat quietly on a chair, rocking Elias as she mentally prepared. Every now and then, she hummed softly to him, a sound so tender that a few nearby contestants paused to listen. One whispered to another, "That voice, that humming, it's beautiful." But Mira didn't hear them. Her focus was on her child's comfort in her own breath, steadying her racing heart. When her number was finally called, she stood, cradling Elias close, and walked toward the stage. The moment she stepped onto the platform, a hush fell over the room. She felt hundreds of eyes on her. Some surprised, some confused, some quietly supportive, but most waited, curious about what she would do. A simple request. The judges sat at a long panel table. A woman in a green suit, elegant and thoughtful, leaned forward. A man with salt and pepper hair looked at Mira with kind curiosity. Another judge, calm and attentive, folded his hands thoughtfully. The green-suited judge spoke first. "Welcome. What's your name?" "Mira," she replied softly. "And who is this little one?" "This is my son, Elias." The judges smiled warmly. "Are you going to sing today?" asked the man with salt and pepper hair. "Yes," Mira said gently. She hesitated for a moment before adding, I was hoping one of you could hold him while I sing." "Only if that's okay." The judges glanced at each other, touched by her sincerity. "I'd be honored," the man said, standing up immediately. He stepped forward, arms open with a calm confidence. Mira carefully placed Elias in his embrace. The baby glanced up at him sleepily, then snuggled into his chest without a fuss. The audience sighed softly at the tender moment. The first note, Mira stood alone on the stage now. No baby in her arms, no barriers, no excuses. Just her, the microphone, and the truth she had carried for years. She closed her eyes, she inhaled deeply, she let go of every fear, every moment of doubt, every memory of being overlooked. And then she began. Her voice was gentle at first, like the morning light brushing softly across a quiet field. But within seconds, it grew, warm, pure, powerful. Her tone wrapped around every person in the room. It felt like comfort, it felt like rising above challenges. It felt like hope, breathed into melody. The judges froze, the audience leaned forward, even staff working backstage stopped in their tracks. Mira sang as if each note carried a piece of her journey. The silent nights, the moments of endurance, the tiny sparks of joy, the promise she made to herself to keep believing. Her voice didn't break, her courage didn't waver. The room listened, completely still. Tears in the crowd, one by one, emotions began to ripple across the audience. A woman in the second row wiped a single tear from her cheek. A young man recording on his phone felt his throat tighten. A group of children at the back stood silently, mesmerized. The judges were equally overwhelmed. The woman in green pressed her hand to her heart. "How is it possible?" she whispered to the judge beside her. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. His eyes glistened, saying everything. Mira continued to sing, her voice reaching every corner of the hall, not with force, but with truth. She wasn't performing to impress. She was singing because she believed her story deserved to be heard. She sang for her son. She sang for anyone who had ever felt invisible. She sang for everyone holding on to a dream despite the world's doubts. And by the time she reached the final note, a long, graceful, breathtaking sound, the entire room stood on their feet. The applause didn't just fill the space. It shook it. The judges speak. The judge holding Elias returned to the panel, still cradling the sleeping baby as if he had forgotten he was part of the show at all. Mira looked at them nervously, unsure of what would come next. The woman in green spoke first. "Mira, I don't have many words right now. What you just shared with us wasn't just a performance. It was a gift. Your voice touched every person in here." The calm, thoughtful judge leaned forward. "I've heard thousands of singers. Thousands. But what you just did, that was pure heart. You didn't just sing a song. You told a story." The man with salt and pepper hair looked down at Elias asleep in his arms and smiled. "Your son is going to grow up knowing his mother has the kind of strength and soul people spend their whole lives seeking." The audience erupted into another wave of applause. And in that moment, Mira's eyes filled with tears, happy tears, grateful tears. Not because of the praise, but because she finally felt seen. The backstage miracle. After her audition, staff members rushed up to congratulate her. Contestants hugged her. Camera crews asked for interviews. Some audience members reached out with kind words, wanting to share what her voice meant to them. But Mira wasn't overwhelmed. She accepted every word, every hug, every gesture with humility. Backstage, when she finally sat down, the weight of everything she had just done settled in. She held Elias close, whispering softly to him, "We did it, you and me." Her son stirred, then smiled in his sleep. Word of her audition spread quickly. Clips circulated across social media, thousands of views turning into millions. Comments poured in, "Her voice heals. I've never cried like this during an audition. She is a reminder of grace in the world. She inspired me today." But for Mira, the biggest gift wasn't fame. It was possibility, the possibility of a new beginning, the show that changed her life. Weeks later, Mira was invited back for the next round. This time, she arrived with supporters from her neighborhood, people who had seen her gentle spirit long before the world did. They cheered her on with signs, smiles, and songs. As she stepped onto the stage again, the audience erupted instantly. She wasn't just another contestant anymore. She was a symbol of rising above circumstances, a reminder of unseen strength. Her second performance was even more breathtaking than the first. Her voice soared, her confidence glowed, her presence radiated peace and purpose. The judges gave her standing ovations. Producers praised her authenticity. Viewers across the country rooted for her. And through it all, Mira remained grounded. She thanked everyone sincerely. She kept Elias close. She never let the spotlight change her heart. What happened after the show, whether she won the competition or not, didn't matter, because the show had already given her what she needed most: a platform, a community, opportunities she never imagined, and the chance to rebuild her life with dignity and hope. Organizations reached out offering support. Music coaches volunteered to mentor her. Local groups offered stable housing options. People from across the USA sent gifts and kind messages for Elias. Myra's life began to bloom, not because of sympathy, but because people recognized her talent, her courage, and her undeniable spirit. She recorded her first songs. She performed at community events. She inspired countless people facing their own battles. And everywhere she went, she carried the same message. You may feel unseen, but your voice matters. Your story matters. You matter. A legacy of light. Years later, when Elias grew old enough to understand, Myra shared the story of the day she stood on that stage, how she trusted the world with her voice and trusted one stranger to hold her child. Elias listened with wide eyes, proud and amazed. You were brave, he said. Myra smiled softly. I wasn't brave alone, the world helped me, and now, it's our turn to help others. Her story continued to inspire, reaching far beyond the audition hall, across states, across communities, across hearts. Because sometimes, the most powerful voices come from the quietest places. Sometimes, the greatest strength is carried by those the world overlooks. And, sometimes, hope rises most beautifully from the edges of life. Just like Myra, just like her song, just like the moment she changed everything by simply believing she deserved to be heard. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring, emotional stories from across the USA, especially stories that celebrate strength, dignity, and the power of the human spirit.